this, no? All right.
If you're a regular, like writers will tell you.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming.
Woo!
You want to sit down or?
Yeah.
All right.
Don't you?
Go over here.
I was thinking you'd sit there and I'd sit here like a talk show.
Yeah, literally.
I should sit there.
Yeah. Just watch your step. Watch your step. This is Film Underground 15. We took a little break. For those of you who are new here or don't fully understand what's going on, Film Underground is modeled after comedy clubs where we split every screening into two parts. The first part is the program. We show some curated films. The second part is modeled after open mic where any film under 10 minutes has a chance to screen. All those who submitted, their names are currently in a box over there. Those will be put into a hat. If you get chosen, we'll play the film. We're going to try to show everybody's film. This time around, we had a nice volume, so there's a chance some people will be excluded, unfortunately. However, we do these every single month, so you have a chance to screen your film the next month and the next month and the next month. We are also joined with a film legend, Cary Woods, a producer who produced Scream, Kids, Swingers, Gummo, who swung between independent film and giant studio staples. Cary also has gained a tremendous name for himself for discovering talent such as Alexander Payne, Todd Solondz, M. Night Shyamalan, and to name a few, which we'll get to during our discussion. So we're going to have a quick Q&A with Cary, and then we'll jump into the films. Okay, so Cary, why don't we start at the beginning in the Bronx, where you grew up. If you could tell us a little bit about your humble beginnings and how does a kid in the Bronx living in an apartment the size of a shoebox end up in Hollywood royalty?
We've heard that story. Is this working?
Here.
Hello?
Here, go.
Hello?
Yeah.
I feel like we've heard that story so many times. Some guy grows up with nothing and then he gets lucky and he has a good career. Let's move on to the next thing. Don't you think?
Okay, well, with that said, do you think it's still possible for somebody to grow up with nothing and make it far?
Although I hate what's happening in this country right now, I'm not sure that could happen, somebody coming from my circumstances to having a good career. And for the most part, I can't think of many other countries like that. I think that you're pretty much relegated to your class. I mean, you can jump one or two places, but yeah. So, I mean, it may sound patriotic, and I guess it is, but be assured that I despise everything that's going on in this country. I don't want to turn this politics. Let's go on.
We could go there. Okay, well, why don't we go to your scouting of talent? You started off as an agent at William Morris. How are you able to spot, who's got the goods and who doesn't?
When I was starting out, I worked for an agent at the William Morris Agency, who was at the time probably the most important agent in Hollywood. He died under my watch. He was one of the first casualties in Hollywood of AIDS. He died of AIDS, but he was really, really in the closet. And when he got AIDS, everybody was told he had leukemia. And then he passed on, and I was to be promoted to be, I'd been his assistant, I was to be promoted to be an agent. And I had met every important person in Hollywood because I worked for him. And when I say met, I mean mostly on the phone. But they knew me because as he got sicker and sicker, I had to do more and more interaction with these people. At his direction, of course, but he couldn't be on the phone. And so when I just turned an agent, as soon as I became an agent, I had the best. There used to be a thing called Rolodex. I had the best list of contacts in Hollywood than any junior agent at any agency. So after he passed away and they were going to promote me, I called the 20 or 30 most important people I had gotten to know and asked them if I could come to their office or whatever and get some advice, because they only knew me as like this came in his office and then talking to me, but none of them really, many of them I hadn't met. So every single one of them said yes, and I either went to their office and or they took me out to a meal. And I got 2 pieces of advice that I'll never forget. He walked me to the elevator, however, and he goes, hey, listen, if you can tell the difference between chicken salad and chicken shit, you'll be okay. And that's what it is, really. You just, with directors, I think I look for confidence. I want somebody that doesn't want any fucking help from me whatsoever. Because if they're indecisive, you're lost. The director has to make split decisions on the set, and he doesn't have the time to go ask 1,000 people, and it's boom, boom, boom. And confidence, well, confidence in pretty much anything that you do. But as a film director, you know, you have a company of 120 people, you have actors, and they're all nuts. And hope there are no actors here, but you might as well know you're crazy. Anyway, that was it, and that was his advice. And it turns out to be true. And with directors, it's an instinctual thing. You know, you're meeting with a leader, or usually you've seen something they've made, a short film or something, or very often writers will turn into directors. I mean, Harmony Korine wrote Kids before he directed Gummo. Many, many writers turn into directors, famously because they hate seeing their scripts, you know, vandalized. And Woody Allen became a director because his first script he, you know, despised. Anyway, and now any more bloviating, what's your next question? This is a really nice scarf.
It's not chicken shit.
Your girlfriend had to give this to you, right? Be honest. Yes?
No.
Really?
A friend.
You got that yourself?
No.
Okay.
Okay. And what about actors? Because you were also you represented many notable actors like Uma Thurman.
What they're like is, they're confident. I mean, you hear about insecure actors, but here's the life of a young actor. You go to see the casting director before you get to meet the director, and the casting director is meeting God knows how many people, and there's one part, and maybe she's meeting 20, 30, who knows how many people they're meeting for the part. So consequently, the odds are that you're going to hear, no, you didn't get the part. And depending on how much your agent is getting you out to these meetings, you're going to hear it multiple times during the week, and you may not hear a yes for weeks. You can't do that if you don't have a very hard shell, okay? Now, there are also actors who do one play or something, and they blow the place apart. You know, that's just, you know, they're LeBron James in high school. And then that's it. That kind of happened to Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman, she was a model, but she had just done some small theater in New York, and immediately got a lot of notices and was going to come out to LA to get an agent. She was represented by a theater agent in New York who happened to be at the William Morris Agency, but she was a tiny little agent, and she only did theater, and Uma was already like trying to be signed by agents telling her, we'll make you a movie star, you're a movie star. So she came out to New York, to LA, to meet different agencies, like the big ones, and this woman, Myrna, says, we gotta have a meeting with her, with the motion picture department. We can't afford to lose her because none of us knew her, but Myrna's eye was incredible. She found John Malkovich and a bunch of other really great actors, and so we believed her. So she sets up a meeting with Julia Roberts' agent, who's this woman who was like the biggest blowhard. Super talented, but like couldn't shut, like, and also full of shit. She's now Jennifer Lopez's manager, like wildly successful. And her and another guy who he represented somebody relatively, and Myrna calls me and she says, you have to be at that meeting, please. I said, Myrna, look, here's the thing. I'm in my late 20s or early, whatever it is, and she's an unbelievably pretty girl, and I don't want to have a reputation as an agent who doesn't take his job seriously and just represents a bunch of models. That's not what I want to be. And she said, I promise you, she's not that. She's special. She was 17. I don't know if you know anything about her, but her father was the first American Buddhist monk. And when the Dalai Lama came to America, they would stay with him.
Wow.
And a professor at Columbia. Her mother's first husband was Timothy Leary, who you may or may not know who he is, but he was kind of the father of acid in America. And it was beautiful. And I met with her, and one of the first things she asks is, so I understand that actors are making producing deals with studio. Now, you have to be a giant star, and the studio wants to lock you up. So they give you a producing deal, which means they give you a bungalow on the thing and they hire a small staff, and what you give them for that is the right to her first look of any movie she gets attached to. So, and big stars got it, and Julia Roberts had just gotten it. And so her agent is there. So Uma says, let me ask you something. So I'm hearing about these production deals that these actors are getting, and that sounds really good because I have a lot of things that and Elaine goes, no problem. I will set you up with meetings with every studio president and listen. It was complete and utter bullshit. There's no way somebody at her level is getting one of those deals. And I was sickened by the question, and because it was so arrogant, I was sickened by the answer. So I got up, I went over to Uma, and I said, look, it is an incredible pleasure to meet you. I hope to stay with the agency, and I look forward to working. Some bullshit like that. And I left. And then I went back to my office. This was about 11:30, and at about 3:30 or 4, my assistant said, Uma Thurman is calling me. I said, what? So I pick up the phone, and she says, hi. She goes, can you have dinner tonight? And I'm like, well, depends why. What's going on? She goes, look, I had these meetings all day long, including the one I had at your office, and everybody is so full of shit. I think you were the only person who was honest. Because she knew why I left the room. And she was brilliant at 17 to know that she was being bullshitted. And so I became her agent. But like, I don't know how smart people think she is. She's smarter than that. She's 17, man. Incredible. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, I'll ask one more question, and we'll give it over to the audience. So Swingers was made for roughly $200,000?
$250,000.
$250,000, and it ended up selling for like $7 million or something? $5 million? And in the 90s in general, you had all these, movies being made for, relatively speaking, pennies, and, we're getting tremendous success financially, critically. Do you think that's still possible? Could movies be made in that micro-budget range?
Without a doubt. I mean, you're making a movie now for virtually nothing, but conceptually, it's brilliant. And the next thing that has to happen is you actually were able to tell a story with your actors, and it's not a conventional screenplay by any measure, but I think that it has the potential to be something. Now, I don't know that it's a commercial hit, but I think it definitely has the potential to be a critical hit, which you asked about.
Yes.
I have a question. What do you think about young filmmakers coming up with new ideas, but I guess that major studios or people that are already kind of in place, not saying that they're not giving them a chance, but like not really seeing the vision that they might be seeing? Like, what do you think about that? Like the new generation of filmmakers coming up with new ideas and kind of like.
Look, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Whatever you think about those guys who are running it, and I have, for the most part, negative feelings about them, they're not making movies for reviews. They don't give a shit about it. They have a public company, they have shareholders, their job is to make money for the shareholders, they're trying to make hits. Independent financing people, often people who are very well-to-do, have made their money and they could buy another boat, make a movie. They're interested in that. They want to maybe make a piece of art at the highest level, on a different level, go to Sundance or go to Cannes or whatever. So you have, and they don't get involved with how much is it going to make. It could do well, but they have to be the kinds of people that don't miss $5 million or something like that. There are lots of them. Lots of movies are produced all the time by those people. But yeah, I mean, I think that none of the stuff you're talking about need you worry about, depending on if you can get some independent, there are some independent companies that'll look at some stuff that's offbeat, but more or less you're on your own.
There's no hope. Nah, I'm just joking. Yeah.
Are there any patterns that you've noticed amongst like a strong crew?
A strong crew?
Yeah, like assembling a strong crew?
Well, first of all, in my job, I don't hire the crew. That's a different producer, that's the line producer. But in watching crews work, they have to want to make a great movie as much as the director and the producer. Like the crew gets into the movie. You know, and if you're a smart director and producer, you involve them in it. In that you talk to them before the movie, you give them copies of the script. Like, they need to feel they have as much at stake as you do. And smart directors and producers do that. Most don't. Which is not to say that most aren't smart. Let's put it this way, if you ask me which producer is going to be more successful, a really smart one who's kind of laid back, or a really dogged one that's not that great creatively, it's going to be the dogged one. The key is to find somebody who's both. But I've seen both of those types succeed.
Anybody else? Tara?
Between all the films that you worked on, which was the most challenging one and why?
The most challenging was Kids, because Gus Van Sant and Marty Scorsese were originally the executive producers. Marty fell off and Gus stayed on. And they were trying to get Larry Clark was attached as a director, who was like a world-famous photographer. And Gus and Marty were trying to find the money for it. And somehow they couldn't, because the Kids to script was just as insane as the movie. And Gus, who was my former client, calls me up and said, "Cary, I have this script, no one's gonna make it. You wanna read it?" And I said, "Sure." He tells me there's a 17-year-old kid or whatever, and I read it and I love it. And I had just gotten a commitment. There were these two guys whose father gave them like $15 million to start an entertainment company, whatever they wanted to do. And they wanted to buy RKO, which was a waste of money because all of their good stuff is in the public domain anyway. So they would be buying a name that doesn't mean anything to anybody anymore. And I told them, they had a music lawyer who sent them to me because we were friends. I said, you know, just don't do it. You might as well burn $5 million in a fireplace. At least you'll get one. And so they didn't do it, and they said to me, "Hey, listen, if you come across any movies under $4 million, let us know. We'd be interested in working with you." Literally the next week, Gus sends me Kids, and I have to do it, and I send it. I call these guys, and I said, "Oh my God, I read blah, blah, blah." And they get it, and they call me up, it was the next day or 2 days later, and said, "Okay, let's do it." Now, to this day, I have no idea if they read that script. Like, we really got along. They trusted me. They liked my movies, and they didn't know shit about scripts. One of them was like a musician. They knew nothing. Anyway, that's their first movie. Imagine that. They never made another, but they were executive producers. But the point is, you just don't know with them. I didn't know when I had a meeting with them that I was going to get like $5 million out of it. You just don't know where it's coming from. Now, I didn't answer your question at all. What was the question?
No, you did. Okay, let's get another. Aziz.
Are you hoping to find any talented people here today?
No.
Okay. Okay, let's take one more. Michael.
Hey, we're taking her question. At some point.
We can't. This is the last one. We have to wrap up. Michael.
What are you up to these days?
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask.
There you go.
I am working, my wife is an award-winning documentary producer, and I love documentaries, and I just produced my first one with her, which probably none of you have seen, but it's incredible. It's called Hard Hat Riot, which is based on true stories of what happened when there were anti-Vietnam demonstrations. Columbia University was the hotbed of what was going on back there. And then Kent State, and they went down to protest at City Hall, which was in the shadow of the World Trade Center. And the hard hat guys were looking down at these privileged college kids. In the meantime, they had friends and children that all had died in Vietnam. And these guys are like, oh, those fucking pigs, and blah, blah, blah. So one day they came off of the World Trade Center and went over there and just beat the shit out of all of them. And it's about the politics of both sides. But the reason the movie is exceptional, in my opinion, is it's not a movie that looks at this from the left or the right. Like, you get it from both sides why they were pissed off. And it's on PBS, which has a streaming service, which if you go there, you cannot believe the great shit that's there. So I recommend looking at and in particular at Hard Hat Riot.
It's a good film.
It's on American Experience.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on American Experience on PBS. I just saw it.
Oh, wow.
Did you like it?
It was wonderful.
What did you rate it on Letterboxd? Sure. Okay, Cary, before we wrap, any last words of motivation for the...
Yeah, I want to evade her to ask her a
It was a
question.
similar question.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you working? Oh, I mean.
We
Go
don't
ahead.
really have... Okay.
What?
We're in a bit of a rush. We need to start the films. Maybe you have a general... People could speak to Cary after.
What would you like?
Do you have general encouragement? Is there any hope for filmmakers, or any last words of advice you would impart upon all of us?
No, here's the answer to that.
Okay.
The former chairman of Walt Disney, called Michael Eisner, during a time many moons ago when Disney didn't own a network and all the other big studios had gotten into the network television business, they had placed to put their TV productions. And there was a lot of pressure on Michael Eisner to buy one, the last one. And he kept saying, you know, I don't need this pressure. And he wrote this essay about it. He called it Content is King. And he said, look, if you have the kind of content that they want, that the thing that the audience is going to want, the pipes will find you. And when he meant the pipes, he means the distribution systems. So my advice is to become really, really good at something that you're doing in this industry, whether it's acting or writing or directing or all. Be great at it. Because if you're ordinary, there are a tremendous amount of ordinary people out there. More than really talented people. So it's challenging.
That's brilliant advice. Well, round of applause for Cary.
It's a downer, but...
No, that was great. Real quick, I just would ask, there's no mandatory drinking or anything, but although we all love to do that, this event is free. We don't make any money from it. The way we're able to be in this venue is because they're hoping to get some kind of return, everybody getting something, a bite to eat. It could be a seltzer if you don't drink. So I
have
implore.
one thing I forgot, and it's important.
Could you kind of just 1 second? Just 1 second. Give me 1 second. So I implore everybody to. We're gonna take like a 5-minute break before we start the films, and in that 5 minutes, if you could just literally $5, anything, because that avoids us getting in trouble with the venue. I greatly appreciate it. Okay.
I need these guys to settle a debate between us.
Oh no.
I have
Switch off the mic.